trade wars and these races between large economic blocs are deep down class wars. In other words, they are happening as class wars and as trade wars within those economic blocs. DeepSeek, a historic event, what we saw unfolding over the last week or so. And it is historic for two reasons, because it combines two poignant and highly significant stories. One story is that this is our generation's Sputnik moment. When in the 1950s, the Russians totally unexpectedly were the first ones to go to space with Sputnik. The United States, that had managed to convince themselves that we're far ahead of the rest of the world in space technology, were absolutely shattered and shocked, emotionally, psychologically, ideologically, that the Soviet Union, that was struggling to produce enough plows, cow-driven plows, until a few years before, suddenly had gone to space before them. And of course, we saw what happened after that, the escalation of the space race, the arms race, and the Cold War. So this is another Sputnik moment, because up until last week, both American government and big tech, Silicon Valley, did assume that China was eons behind them in developing artificial technology. And DeepSeek comes in with a very cheap model, which is just as effective, maybe more efficient than Altman's much hyped ChatGPT. So this is one dimension, the Sputnik mode. But there's another dimension. The second dimension is very different. We have to remember that as good leftists, we must not forget that, trade wars and these races between large economic blocs are deep down class wars. In other words, they are happening as class wars and as trade wars within those economic blocs. Let me explain a bit more cogently what I mean by that. There are two kinds of corporations in the United States and in China, but let's focus on Silicon Valley now, that use algorithms, that use algorithmic capital, what I call cloud capital in my book, in my recent book that most of you have heard me talk about. There is a cloud capital that is being used in order to produce the algorithms, the platforms of big tech, like Amazon, Airbnb, Uber, Google, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Okay, that all requires algorithmic or cloud capital to be built. And then there are companies like OpenAI that produce, using more or less the same technology, they produce a straightforward capitalist service. So what is the difference between, let's say, this, the Google Assistant, and what DeepSeek did, or what OpenAI do with their ChatGPT? The difference is that the latter, ChatGPT and DeepSeek, provide you with a commodity. They provide you with a service which is commodified. There's a market for it. There are competing providers, suppliers, and you choose which one you want on the basis of price, of quality, of brand resonance, whatever. It is in that realm that DeepSeek dealt a major blow at American cloud capital, because Sam Altman was banking on huge revenues from selling in that market the services of his AI bot. He was vulnerable to that kind of intrusion by DeepSeek because he was competing at the marketplace. He was selling something. Whenever you sell something, a competitor may appear out of nowhere and sell the same thing cheaply, more cheaply, or both in a better quality and a lower price. But what lives inside the Google Assistant, the Siri interface of Apple phones, um, Amazon's Alexa, and so on, what lives in there is not a supplier to you of some commodity, which, like every other commodity, comes with a price at the marketplace. When you are in Facebook, in Instagram, in TikTok, you're not buying anything. You are a user who's being used. You are posting stuff. You are training the interface, whether it's a Google Assistant or Siri or Amazon's Alexa. You're training it to train you, to give it better information so that it can impress upon you its capacity to give you good advice on what music to listen to, what books to buy, what electric bicycles to purchase. And then it sells it to you once you have formed that desire for what it has instructed you or guided you to desire. It sells it to you directly outside a market process, because Amazon is not a market, it's a platform. And how does Bezos, the Amazon owner, benefit from that? By charging up to 40% of the price you pay, effectively creaming off, siphoning off whatever surplus value has been produced in the capital sector that has produced this item. Now, that sector, what I call the techno-feudal sector, is not threatened by someone like DeepSeek, because it's not a market. It's not a capitalist market. It's what I call techno-feudalism. It's outside the realm of capitalism, of the capitalist marketplace as we understand it. So, to wrap up, DeepSeek created the Sputnik moment, but it also created a major clash of prospects within the cloud capital sector in the United States, but also in China. Essentially, companies like OpenAI were severely damaged. Their profitability, long-term profitability, their net present value collapsed. But companies like Amazon, if anything, were strengthened. Because these technologies, which allow us through DeepSeek or ChatGPT to ask them to draw pictures for us or to write essays for us, whatever, these same reinforcement learning algorithms that DeepSeek uses, once fused with the cloud capital of Alibaba, the Chinese version of Amazon, or Amazon, that enhances the power of cloud capital to modify our behavior and therefore to afford its owners, the owners of Amazon, for instance, or Alibaba, a greater capacity to extract rents from the rest of the economy. We are talking in the West where Google, Facebook, remember Cambridge Analytica? Do I need to remind people of Cambridge Analytica? Take everything we do, everything we think of, every move we make, and commodify it, classify it, cross-reference it. Now, do I want my data, my searches to be stored by some Chinese company somewhere? No. But if we want to have a conversation about socializing and democratizing cloud capital, yes, let's have it. But I laugh my head off when I hear this being waged at DeepSeek, when on the other hand we have Zuckerberg, who not only through Cambridge Analytica, we know what he's done with our data, but he's also in the White House celebrating the new coronation of Donald Trump. So get off, folks. This is a major moment. As Arnaud said, we have DeepSeek came here and said, all right, you want to use the internet in order to make inquiries and to ask for intelligent answers? Well, here you can do it for free, as Arnaud said. This is open source. Instead of paying an arm and a leg to some altman, and also be surveyed by them while you're paying for them or paying them. If I may take what Arnaud said and take it a little bit further. Yes, everything that Arnaud said is right. So you have this Chinese company which essentially tells the world, here is my code, this is how it works, emulate it, take it away. which is brilliant. It's not far off in concept to a pharmaceutical company giving away the formula for some antibiotic or some vaccine, right? Like once it happened with polio, unlike COVID-19. So that's absolutely brilliant. But allow me, and this is not being critical, but I want to bring another dimension that involves geostrategic interests and the rivalry between China and the United States. Before DeepSeek came out, I've been doing some research into how AI research was proceeding in China over the last few years and how it was proceeding in the United States. In the United States, it was a pure commodification process. How can we create a service that will be in high demand and therefore utilize our monopoly position to extract the maximum rents or profits from the people who would actually buy that service? In China, as I said, this is something that I encountered before DeepSeek came out and surprised us all. Research on AI was not consumer oriented. There was no attempt to create AI in order to sell the capacity to draw pictures and write essays to students and to professionals and common people out there. AI in China was always being developed in the context of the production process of other goods and services. It was always integrated with industry. And, the most interesting AI projects that I came across in Shenzhen, in Shanghai, and so on, were projects that were all in the business of making the production of wind turbines better, of making it easier to produce hydrogen from electricity, of integrating AI systems in the manufacturing process of intermediate goods. Yeah? In the United States, it was all about how do we beat Google at the game of searching, and how can we, make a quick buck by getting people to subscribe and pay high subscription prices in order to get their questions answered. Now, I don't claim to know what the objectives were the aims behind DeepSeek and so on, but even if we don't have any information about that, it's really easy, it's simple to note that by releasing DeepSeek and its code, essentially, the Chinese way of doing AI won, and the American way of doing AI lost, because there is not going to be anymore such a lucrative trade in the services of AI answer providers. Now, Donald Trump claims to be interested in bringing back manufacturing to the United States. Well, good luck to him. The question is, will Silicon Valley be integrated with American industry in the way that Chinese AI is being integrated with Chinese manufacturing industry? Now, for that, you need a centrally planned economy or some kind of an investment plan, something that the United States does not have outside its industrial military complex. It does have it within the industrial military complex. So the question is are they going to catch up? Or are they going to stay in this game of trying to make a quick buck by serving the consumer sector?